And welcome to On the Money with Secure Money. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Brian Kawanta. He is president and founder of Secure Money Advisors, as well as joined by Neil Majors, senior investment advisor. Brian, let me start with you. How are you today?
I'm great. Good to see you as always.
Great to see you as well. Neil, how are you?
I'm well, Cynthia. How are you?
I am doing fantastic.
Great
Thank you so much. It's always so exciting to be in the studio together because I know that you're both so passionate helping people retire with confidence, retire comfortably, and most importantly, Brian, being on the right track.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about what being on the right track means.
Well, a lot of people want to know, should I stay or go? Meaning, should I keep working or can I retire? Right? That's usually the big question. You don't see retirement parties anymore, do you? I mean,
No.
I can remember my grandparents going to retirement parties. I felt like all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we're going to Uncle Tony's, retirement party. We're going to Uncle Joe's retirement party. You don't hear that
That's
at all
true.
anymore. And the reason is because nobody gets a pension anymore, so nobody knows when they can retire. The question is really, well, when are they going to get around to getting a plan together? Because that's typically what it hinges on. They want to meet with somebody to figure out, do they have the ability to retire? Do they have the money? If they do retire, are they going to run out? What happens if they have a health event and they got to spend money? What happens if the cost of living goes up? All these variables that have to be taken into account, and the Right Track retirement system addresses all of those and helps mitigate the risk associated with each of those variables to help give the clients peace of mind going into retirement.
I think that's exactly, you hit the nail on the head there. I think right at the end, peace of mind is what it's all about. And I think a lot of folks that are coming in, whether they've worked with a broker or just have the retirement account through their employer, what they don't have is the peace of mind.
Yeah, because they don't have the plan.
They don't have the plan.
They don't have the plan, right.
They first of all have no idea who's going to pay me, right? You know, when should I take Social Security?
Yeah, right.
And Social Security obviously is not going to be enough. And who's going to pay me the balance, right? And how do I solve that? And, you know, when we go through our process and show people, you know, pretty simplistic spreadsheets where they can kind of see how things are going to work, how we're going to distribute the money to them, I think the number one thing is peace of mind. But obviously,
and that comes from the clarity of those spreadsheets. I mean, when you lay that out for people the way that we do, there's clarity for the first time. I get it. I see how that's going to work. I understand how we're going to do that now. That makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
You know, I would probably say, and I know you hear this a lot because I hear it a lot, they will always say, gosh, I wish I would have met you guys 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
I wish I would have met you 5 years ago. I've been retired already.
Why has nobody ever
shown this to me before?
Yeah.
You know, and that's when we know we've got a good model that we've built. And what makes the model good is it's nothing, you know, that is cutting edge. It's basic fundamentals.
Yeah.
But it's basic fundamentals put in a very simple model for people to understand. You should be able to explain your plan, and our clients can explain their plan.
Yes, and don't you call your mom and run the plans past
I always
her.
call.
I love that because you said if
It's
your
always
mom.
in my ear.
Yes, I think that's fantastic because it's smart when you think about that. If you can explain it to someone they understand, especially your mom. I mean, that's not that she wouldn't understand, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely, no, right.
It's a great sounding board.
It's a great sounding board because financial concepts can be complex.
Yeah.
And I think our industry, the financial industry, is done a disservice to the consumer because they tend to talk over the consumer's head.
Yes.
So the consumer gets confused. And unfortunately, a confused mind, the most dangerous part is it does nothing.
Yeah.
And doing nothing is the worst decision somebody can make, you know, approaching retirement or being in retirement.
Yes.
You know, because a lot of times people will just keep things the same, and their mindset and their strategies have to change when they approach and go into retirement, because you go from an accumulation phase of accumulating money to a distribution phase where you now need that money to live off of.
That makes sense.
And so the way you position your investments, the way you protect your downside risk, you know, a lot of times people talk about, well, what have been the returns of the portfolio. I'm not really concerned about the upside returns because if the market's doing fine, everything should do just well. I'm really concerned about what's your downside protection, because most people can't afford a 25 or 30% loss 5 years out from retirement or in retirement, because it's going to do a number of things. Number one, it's going to delay their retirement, meaning they're not going to be able to retire, and they're going to have to work for another 4 or 5 years until the markets recover, or worse yet, they're going to have to come out of retirement because the plan's not going to work. And that's not the way you want to approach it. And at Secure Money Advisors, the Right Track retirement system is all about getting them on the right track, giving them peace of mind, clarity. And that's through planning and also protecting money, too.
And nobody wants their entire retirement built on hypotheticals, right?
Which the brokerage firms are notorious. The banks, the brokerage firms, hypotheticals. Can't tell you how many hypothetical reports we've seen, right? They'll give the client a report and say, oh, if you keep doing this, you'd have like $10 million. Really? Based off of what interest rate? Because the projections are just unrealistic. They're very, very unrealistic.
I think that's why our model is so effective, because we do the bucketing approach. We'll show folks, how we're going to generate cash flow and what investments we need to utilize to be able to generate cash flow. And then we do have hypotheticals built into our plan, obviously, but it's not purely hypotheticals, right?
Yeah.
And typically,
no, there's a lot of guarantees that we build into the plan.
For sure.
Because you have to have some known. Right? There's most people have an entire plan of hypotheticals. So you can't do that. I mean, you might be able to do it in your younger years because you've got time, but when you don't have time, you got to build some certainty into the plan.
Sure, that makes sense. Neil, what types of questions do you ask people when they're first coming into the office? How do you help assess what their right track would be?
Well, the first question that I ask folks is I really ask them, what do you want to get out of today's meeting and how can I help you? I want to understand, the things that they're starting to think about, what brought them in today. And they start to, give me a little bit of information, and then typically that information, asks further questions, and then more information starts to spew out.
But
so
there
I can
is
really
mostly,
understand.
there are very common things that are being asked. Like number one is, you'll hear all the time, I don't know when to collect my Social Security. Number two is, I don't have a pension and we need income and we don't know how to generate income. Number three is, we don't want to take the risks we were once taking. We don't have the time to recover if the market goes down, and we're not very confident in the markets right now, and we don't want to take this much risk going in. So those are the most common things you hear all the time. So when you do ask somebody, what are your primary concerns being here today? Those are the things they'll typically tell you.
Sure.
Right? Don't know when to collect Social Security, don't know how to generate income, I'm concerned about market volatility, I have no plan. We see 25 to 30 people a week at our office, and I would say about 85 to 90% of the people are going to start their meeting that way with those types of concerns.
Yeah. Which all circles back to what we first talked about. People are afraid to run out of money. Isn't that an AARP study, Brian?
Yes, correct. Yes, that's exactly right. 90% of the people that were interviewed answered a question that AARP had posed, and AARP said, what do you fear most, running out of money or death? And 90% of the people said they fear running out of money more than they fear death alone. And the worst day of retirement's not the day you run out of money. The worst day of retirement is the day you figure out you're going to run out of money, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. And unfortunately, we've met those people, and they've gotten poor advice over the years. They didn't have a good strategy in place, and now their lifestyle and what they have saved and how they're managing the plan is just, it's going right to a dead-end road. And unfortunately, there's nothing you can do to stop it at that point because it's just too far gone at that point.
I mean, that's a very common question that we get at the office is, how much money do I need to save for retirement? And, my brother tells me you need $1 million. My coworker tells me you need $500,000. My neighbor says you need $2 million, right? It's all over the math. But, really it's about, what do you need on a monthly basis, and how do we go about reverse engineering it to make sure that we can get you that money without ever coming to you later down the line saying, you're going to run out of money, and we don't know how to stop it because maybe you're spending too much.
Absolutely.
The first thing that we always do is when we lay out an income strategy for somebody, most people, if you're a married couple, you're going to have Social Security at least, right? So let's just keep it simple and say that that's, in this case, well, I had a couple come in last week. Their only two sources of income in retirement were going to be Social Security. So, between the husband's Social Security and the wife's Social Security, they were going to be at about $60,000 a year, okay? But they needed about $80,000 a year to live off of. So that means they needed $20,000 a year in additional income. Well, there's no pension there, there's no rental income, there's no other sources. So where are we going to get that from? Well, they've got a 401k. There's about $1.2 million in there. So the question is, can we take $20,000 a year from $1.2 million? Well, the answer is yes, but we can't do it if 100% of that money is in the market because, and I've said this a number of times, if you're pulling money out of a stock investment, it's very dangerous because you have a risk that shows up called sequencing risk. This is the order in which you receive returns in retirement. Okay. So for example, if I retire at the top of a bull market, and I start pulling 20 grand out a year and the market's not cooperating, and as I'm pulling money out, my account value is going down because of the money I'm pulling out plus the market going down. I'm compounding losses, locking into losses, and now the reality of running out of money shows up. So you have to create time if you're going to be in the market. So that's why we believe in splitting the money between two buckets. You have to have an income bucket, which a lot of times you can utilize an annuity to generate income. Not in all cases. Sometimes you might want to use some preferred bonds or some type of tactically managed portfolio, but an annuity can be a great, simple, easy solution to use for an income. Okay. And then on this risk money, you still want to have some downside protection. So on our portfolios, we focus on what we call a drawdown number. So what we're trying to do is mitigate how far a portfolio could go down if the markets were to drop. Okay. So if you look at most people, when you look at their drawdown numbers, and most people don't even know this number exists, but when we do the analysis, we show them that if the markets go down, your portfolio, based on historical data, right, and real facts, this isn't our opinion, the math shows that there's a 40% drawdown, which means this portfolio go down 40%. And the question you always ask is, if the market went down 40% and you lost 40% of this money, are you going to be okay with it? People say, no, absolutely not. We can actually control that drawdown through a strategy that we use, and we can control that drawdown. So let's say somebody doesn't want to lose more than 10%. Okay. Well, we can build the portfolio to have a drawdown of a max of 10%. So these are all the different things we do to mitigate these risks, and that's what our Right Track retirement system is all about. It's giving all of these different strategies in place to help mitigate the risk and give the client peace of mind.
Well, Brian, let's go ahead and open the phone line so you and Neil can make sure that you can have people on the right track. The
right track is what it's all about. If you're not on the right track, when would you want to know? So take advantage of it. It's not very often you get to sit down with a licensed fiduciary, but we are going to offer the next 10 people who call in right now. If you schedule right now, you got to do your part. This isn't the time to procrastinate. You are going to get a complimentary Right Track retirement review. When you come in, we'll sit down, we'll go through the 5 key areas with you. We'll talk about your income, your taxes, your investments, your healthcare strategy, and your estate strategy. But you got to do your part. Pick up the phone right now. It's 1-888-382-1298 to schedule that appointment today.
Brian, thank you so much. Neil, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 888-382-1298. We know you have a lot of questions for Brian and Neil about how to plan your perfect retirement. They have the answers for you. We have to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the other things that go into that well-designed, holistic retirement plan. Stay tuned.
See, everybody can tell you how to invest your money. There's not a lot of people out there and a lot of firms that can teach you how to use your money. Most people will also tell you that they're scared. And the reason they're scared is because they're afraid of running out of money.
The last thing you want to do is have a really good job in your 60s, retire, and be looking for work again in your late 70s.
The average person might say, well, a good portfolio would be a good mix of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. No. A good portfolio is all designed around the 5 key areas: income, taxes, investments, healthcare, and legacy planning.
We're not just product pickers here. What we do best here is we build retirement plans.
9 out of 10 people, when they walk through the door, would ask us, we just want to know if we're on the right track. And I always say, if you're not on the right track, when would be a good time to know it? Probably now.
People, can actually see a vision once we start to really build out their plan.
This is about you. If you're not getting what you need, and you feel that when you walk out of the advisor's office, it's time to get a second opinion. And you can't get a second opinion from the person that gave you the first opinion. The difference at Secure Money Advisors, as a fiduciary firm, we help you manage the risk, build the income, and give you the retirement you dreamed of.
And And welcome back to On the Money with Secure Money. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Brian Kawanta. He is president and founder of Secure Money Advisors, as well as joined by Neil Major, senior investment advisor. Gentlemen, a wonderful show we're having, obviously talking about the importance of planning properly with peace of mind for retirement. But I also want to talk a little bit in this segment, if we could please, about the different pieces of that retirement pie, that holistic plan that you put in place. Neil, what are some other factors that go into that pie?
Well, what we've been talking a lot about on this show here today is how we go about approaching our different buckets of money, right?
Okay.
And, at Secure Money Advisors, our focus on let's have 3 buckets of money. Now, we, for simplicity's sake, blue, green, red, right?
Yep.
The blue is our first bucket. That's our bank money, right? Obviously, we all have a certain level of threshold that we like there, some higher than others. That money there, we just want it to be liquid, available, safe, right? We can pay the bills with it. Our next bucket is
So you're telling me I need some blue money.
some.
Okay. All right. So I need
Some.
blue money.
Yeah,
What
so-
other color money do I need?
Next is green.
Okay, all right,
green
green
is
money.
going to be your pension.
Okay,
That's
got
going to
it.
be your pension bucket. You got to drive your income from the green bucket. Now, the green bucket, all we're looking to do there is protect our principal and get safe, reasonable rates of return to be able to distribute income to ourselves. Okay? That's it. Now, the red bucket is going to be our market risk bucket. And the reason that we still need risk bucket even as we get older and older is for inflation protection, for if the fact that we went into long-term care, for if we had higher tax rates and it started to decrease the amount of income that was actually in our pocket. So we have to make sure that we have some money in each, right? And they all do something important for the other. The green bucket helps the red bucket because it purchases time, because that's our immediate income needs, right?
Okay.
So we want to have a structure in place, a little bit of money in each place. It provides a sound retirement plan, peace
Sure.
of mind,
Yeah,
right?
well,
Peace of mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would say, we have a board that will put these buckets on in the
Yeah.
office, right? Blue, green, red.
Okay.
And what we want to do is, when people come in, we want to look at where the money's at. Does that account that you currently have belong in the blue bucket, green bucket, or red bucket? And so what we'll do by the time we're done with the meeting is we'll identify where all of their money is, right? And a lot of times what you'll see is 99% of their money will be in the red bucket.
Wow.
And you'll ask
Okay.
folks, is there anything that stands out to you with this picture? And they'll say, oh my gosh, there is a lot of money in that red bucket. And what we'll also do is we'll ask folks, what's the most important thing about this money to you? And they'll say, well, I need it to generate income. The red bucket's not designed for income. So you got 99% of your money in the red bucket, not designed for income. And typically they have 0 money in the green bucket. So through this, again, this is conceptual, right? This is getting people to understand how to fundamentally structure their money in a very, very easy way,
Yeah.
rather than talking technical financial terms.
Right.
We're talking blue, green,
Yeah.
red, right?
Yeah.
Which is very easy. So a lot of times people will come in, they'll say, boy, my red bucket's really grown. I probably should take some money from the red and move it to the green. And now you know that people are understanding, right?
Absolutely.
They're understanding conceptually of what it means to rebalance, to reallocate, because the red bucket's getting too much in it. So that's how we kind of approach the whole process at Secure Money.
And I love that because it's so easy to understand when you can visually see it like
Correct.
that, and the colors make
Yes.
perfect sense.
Yes.
So when you're talking about the different buckets, let's talk about kind of that money that goes in there. So obviously you're planning for taxes, inflation. Would there also be long-term care that you're planning for, Brian?
Yeah, and it really all starts with there's only 4 things our money can do for you, right?
Okay.
There's only 4 things it can do. It can provide you with income. It can provide you with safety. It can grow, or it can be liquid. So first off, you got to determine out of those 4 things, what's the most important.
Yeah.
Typically, the way that people will order them is you'll say, what's number 1 for you? They'll say, I need it to generate income.
Yeah.
You'll say, number 2, what is it? Well, I still need it to grow. Okay, so number 2 is growing. What's number 3? They say, well, I want it to be safe. And then number 4 is usually liquidity or access to the money. So once we understand how they order those 4 things that the money can do, now you can really start to understand how much money to have in each of those buckets,
Yeah.
right? Based on those needs of the money. Because some people might say, I just need it to grow. Well, that's okay because they may have adequate income. So they may require more money in the red bucket, right, than the person before them. Person before them might require more money in the green bucket.
Yeah,
Okay?
absolutely.
And again, our clients think about their money in blue, green, red.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, we
Neil?
always say, purpose of your money determines the placement of your money,
Nice.
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
like Brian said, if we know somebody has adequate income and they need growth, more money's going to be in the red.
Yeah.
If we know a situation comes in where it's complete opposite, where they need a lot of income, a lot of pension money, more money's going to be in that green bucket, right?
Yeah.
So, purpose determines placement.
Neil, thank you so much. Brian, I know that you and Neil have a very special offer to present to the viewers at home. Why don't we talk about what that is once again before we reopen the phone lines?
Yeah, folks, we've developed the Right Track Retirement System to help give you protection and peace of mind and give you clarity on what to do with your retirement accounts. But you've got to do your part. See, for the next 10 callers who call in right now, we are going to give you a complimentary analysis of your current situation by bringing you through our Right Track Retirement review. It's complimentary. It's not very often you get to sit down with a licensed fiduciary, but we're going to sit down with you for about 45 minutes to an hour, really understand your situation, and help you customize and even build out your buckets for you when you come to the office. But you got to do your part. You got to call us today, pick up the phone, and schedule the appointment with us now. It's 1-888-382-1298. Again, 1-888-382-1298.
Brian, thank you so much. Neil, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 888-382-1298. We know you have a lot of questions for Brian and Neil about how to plan your perfect retirement. They have the answers for you. Again, the number is 888-382-1298. We have to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, I do have viewer questions, and one of those could be yours. Stay tuned.
If I could help you increase your income, if I could help you pay less taxes, if I could help you potentially maximize the returns of your investments while reducing risk, reducing fees, if I could help you prepare for a health event, or more importantly, when the good Lord decides to take you home, to make sure that the money you've accumulated over your lifetime goes to your family and to your charities rather than the IRS, would that be worth the time to come in and get a second opinion?
And welcome back to On the Money with Secure Money. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Brian Kawanta. He is president and founder of Secure Money Advisors, as well as joined by Neil Major, and he is senior investment advisor. Gentlemen, I love this part of the show so much because it's viewer questions. And we get an opportunity to see what people in the viewing audience are thinking about, and they're calling in and leaving their questions. So if you don't mind, I'm going to jump right in. Is that okay?
Let's do it.
All right. Neil, this first one is to you, and actually they want to know, Neil, how much money does someone really need to retire? I'm confused by this. What is the process?
Yeah, so the process is, well, I have no idea, right? Every situation's entirely different.
Right.
Some people can retire with very, very little in savings. Some require a great deal of retirement savings. So the first thing that you want to do and start to identify is, well, what do you need on a monthly basis? And, it's kind of hard to do because people start to write out the gas bill, the electric bill, the taxes, but they forget about things like food and insurances and all kinds of different things. So
Yeah.
the best way to look at it is just basically, if you know what your net monthly income is and you use it every month during your working years, that's probably what you're going to want to match in retirement, right? Or you can go back through 12 months of bank records and determine what you've spent on average month over month, right?
Okay.
And then we can start to figure out, okay, do we have enough? Are we going to be able to start to place money in the places to be able to generate the cash flow that you're going to need, while also factoring in, some bad things that could potentially happen in the future, like increased taxes, inflation, death of a spouse.
Okay. All right. Neil, thank you so much.
You're
Excellent
welcome.
response. Brian, this is a question for you. It says, what's your investment philosophy? What do you go by, Brian?
Yeah, don't lose money.
Okay.
Don't forget
good.
that. Just don't lose the money.
Yeah.
Because really, at the end of the day, you don't have a whole lot of time to recover in retirement, right? There's going to be market volatility, but you got to be able to put yourself in a position to where your investments are mostly protected, and they're designed to generate cash flow. So taking big risk with money in retirement is just not the name of the game, right? It's all about generating income, protecting as much principal as possible, and making sure that that money lasts the rest of your life. And you can do that through the utilization of a number of different financial vehicles, right? There's different things that we can do to mitigate that downside risk. And I always say, I don't care about the upside, meaning if the markets are going up, we'll be fine. We'll make money, we'll make a lot of money, and we'll be fine. The problem is what happens if the market goes down? My question to people is, what are you doing to protect your downside? And our philosophy at Secure Money Advisors, hence the name of the company, is to make sure that the retirement is as secure as possible. And that's all about making sure that we protect the downside as much as we can.
Brian, thank you so much. Neil, this is a great question. They would like to know, Neil, what is your process for servicing your clients? How will you stay in touch with me?
Yeah, I mean, we have a pretty detailed and disciplined process for making sure that we stay on top of our clients and making sure that we're addressing, their concerns that we kind of mapped out for the first few meetings. So we do mandatory yearly reviews. We have a detailed, laid out a process and approach for those meetings. Things as simple as making sure that your beneficiaries are up to date. Just over the past year, I had a client of mine. She inherited money from her aunt. 4 total people inherited money from the aunt, all nieces and nephews.
Okay.
Well, one of the nieces had passed away. And so they wanted to get the money to her 2 children. And so what happens? Well, because they didn't know how to solve it, they made a rash decision and liquidated the IRA, which now becomes fully taxable to to all 4 of them. So a tiny mistake like that can cause a big headache.
Oh, yeah.
So our approach has to be very detailed. So that's how we go about approaching our annual reviews. Now, throughout the year, we're in contact numerous times via phone calls, via educational videos that Brian, myself, and some of the advisors in the office send out, just so we can educate our clients on what's currently happening, what you should know about, and maybe this applies to you, maybe it does not. We do a number of client events throughout the year, so we're very, very active with our clients.
I think the one thing our clients really appreciate is the education that we do provide on the TV show, on the radio show, through the educational events. And folks, if you haven't listened to our radio show or been out to one of our educational events, I encourage you to go to our website. You can listen to our radio show there, but you can also find out where our next educational event's going to be. And our clients will always tell us, I love watching you guys on the weekend or listening to you because I'm always learning something new. And a lot of times it's through repetition that people start connecting the dots, because we may be having conversations with them in the conference room, but there's a lot of information coming at them. And of course, when they step back and they're listening to the TV show or the radio show on their own time, they might say, wow, that tax strategy that you talked about of how to give tax-free money to my kids, boy, that is a great strategy. We need to talk about that. Now, we might have probably already talked about it, but for the first time, it's clicking in their mind because they're hearing it for the 3rd, 4th, 5th time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, gentlemen, thank you for another amazing show this week.
Yes.
To the viewers at home, most specifically, thank you for spending time with us. That number to call is 888-382-1298. To get on the right track for retirement, all you have to do is pick up the phone and call in today. 888-382-1298. Again, be safe, be happy, be blessed. We look forward to seeing you back here 1 week from today. Take care.